In this video, I want to briefly cover one of the most important and one of the most overlooked topics in selling cash discounting and kind of this path that you're on. So, you're at a point now where hopefully you're starting to scale things up. You made that first sale. You're probably getting ready now to install your first sale as you kind of go through this path. And so it's very easy with the busyness of all the stuff you have to do. You're still prospecting, you're still doing follow-ups, all this other stuff. It's very easy to forget about educating the merchant, okay? And even by extension, educating the employees. Now, we've talked about this in other videos, so this is going to be a very short video, but don't forget that the business owner needs to understand that first 30 days, between 1% to 3% of their transactions are going to complain. Okay. Now you say, well, that's such a small number. I mean, it's not even worth mentioning. Yeah, it is worth mentioning because you might have a business that does 1,000 transactions a month. That's actually pretty common. Okay. So let's say we have a business, they do 1,000 transactions a month. And for them, that means that during the month, they may have as many as 30 customers who are going to complain about this program. Now, if you haven't set expectations correctly, number one, they're probably going to lose business, which is not good. And number two, they're probably going to switch back to traditional processing and maybe even cancel your services. So that's not good. So you need to make sure you're preparing them for that. So talk them through it and say, how many transactions did you do last month as far as the credit card processing goes? Let's look at a statement, and they say, oh, I did 1,000. Okay, so let's just be really clear. This month, you're going to have 10 to 30 people, the first month, 1% to 3% of these transactions where they're going to complain, okay? And so, that's going to be front loaded as well. Obviously, the very first day you implement this, you might get 10 people that day that complain about it. It's going to taper off, but just be aware that you are going to get, that's like a normal amount of complaints about this, okay? So are you ready to talk with your customers about that? If I'm a customer and I say to you, what is this? Why are you charging me more? What are you going to say, Mr. Merchant? Are you ready to have that conversation? And they're probably going to say, no, I don't know what I would say. Okay, so have that conversation. And again, we talked about it previously, but the key here is the merchant needs to explain to the customers, look, the cost of accepting payments keeps going up. We were going to have to raise our prices, and we could have raised prices on everything, but that just didn't seem fair since a lot of people still pay with cash and check. So we decided that we would implement a tiny price increase, but that price increase only affects people that pay with a non-cash form of payment. So that way, if you do pay with cash, you still get the lower price that we had before. They've got to be ready to explain it like that. Their employees, anybody that interacts at the counter with customers has to be ready to say that. If they're not, I promise you, you're going to lose a lot more than 5% of your merchants, as I mentioned earlier and said 95% stick with it. For you, it might only be 80% or 70%, okay? Because you have to educate the merchant and the employee. So don't leave that out. It's a crucial step. I don't like to dive too much into it during the sales process itself because obviously I'm trying to get a yes. I'm trying to make a sale. I'm practical. Like I want to close the deal. And even on that first visit, I don't talk about it usually. What I do is I like to talk about it later when I come back. Maybe I'm doing the paperwork, finishing that up, or I'm actually coming to install the terminal. I want to have that conversation and just make sure we're on the same page with everything at that point, just to ensure that they know exactly what is going on and what's going to happen in their business.